everyone, it's good to see you. I've got this Picea conifer which we're going to turn into a bonsai for the balding Reefer and then send it over to him, but I thought I'd film that process and share it with you, so hope you enjoy. Okay, so we've got it on the table here. This is a Picea glossea conica. This Picea can be placed in the sun or semi-shade. The height of this plant is it can reach 120 centimetres. Pruning not recommended. Evergreen, no pine cone. Before planting, submerge the pot in a bucket of water for 10 minutes. But that's if you're growing it as a normal tree. So we're going to work on it as a bonsai. Now, obviously, first thing we're going to do is let's get it out of this pot so we can get a good look at it. Nice, strong, healthy root ball there, but we're not going to work with that. Not going to work on that just yet. First thing we're going to do is it's inevitably planted very deep in the pot, so there's inevitably a lot more trunk. So we're just going to find somewhere to get rid of all of that. Using one of these. We're just going to start by clearing a lot of this surface soil away and finding where the actual base of the trunk of the tree is. It's actually quite close to the surface in this one, it feels, but we'll keep working away on it for a bit. So yes, already with just a little bit of work, I don't know if you'll be able to see there, but we can see there's a trunk that's nearly about 1 inch thick down at the bottom here, so I'm going to keep working to clear away and expose that a little bit more, and then we'll move on to the next part. So I've pretty much got the trunk exposed to where I want it. I'm just going to chop off some of the roots that I don't need, that are just obscuring that, so you can see it a bit clearer. So that's the trunk exposed now, so that's all we're going to do on the base for a little while, but we're going to now Right, we're now going to start to look at the tree and work out what we're going to do with it. So it's going to sort of end up, I think, about that position. Now, these loan themselves quite nicely to the formal upright style, so I think we'll keep an eye on where we're going, but it's got quite a nice straight trunk. So I expect, yeah, we'll probably make it into a formal upright, but we'll see where it goes. But what we're going to do first now is start pruning back what we definitely don't need and start exposing the trunk a little bit and trying to work out what branches we're going to use to create some structure. So before we do much more then, I'm just going to start taking off some of the foliage that we know we definitely don't need. Anything that's weak, growing down, in the way, just general stuff we don't want, and a little bit of pruning. Let's just expose the trunk and see what we've got going on there. Start to prune some of these up. Right, I'm starting to done a little bit more pruning. You can see, taking some back out. I'm not going too fast up the whole tree, but I'm starting to get an idea of where I'm going with it. So we're going to wire these two down like that as the first two branches, and then those two like that. So I think I'll get on and do that now. Now these are quite thick branches, so just have a look through what wire I've got. Thinking 1.5 mil. I think I might use 2 mil for this. So for these first two branches, we're just going to use a little bit of 2mm wire. Probably need to go and get my wire cutters though. So we're just going to hold the wire up to the tree, gauge roughly how long we need. So general rule of thumb, you want about the length of wire that you need, plus about another third again, to allow for the fact that you're wrapping it. And yeah, I'm just gonna have to go and grab my wire cutters. Momentary hold up over. So that should be a long enough piece of wire. We're just gonna start by getting this nice and tight around the tree. Now, for some reason I always wire better using my left hand. It's probably because I'm left-handed. So I usually have to spin the trees around so that I'm doing it with my left hand, which can make it a little bit awkward sometimes, but shouldn't be too bad. So we're just going to wire these first two branches roughly and get them so that they're roughly in place where we want them. When you're doing this, it's important to make sure that you don't snag any of the new growing buds or branches, because if you get them underneath the wire, they'll just die, they won't grow because they'll be trapped by the wire. So just be careful to avoid doing that. And obviously I'm just cutting off anything that's getting in my way or hanging down that we're not going to need once the branch is wired anyway. Then when you get near the end, just wire it a little bit looser to give the branch room to grow. In there. So that's that first branch wired now. I'm not gonna bend it into position yet, just gonna get this other branch wired up. And then basically we'll just carry on repeating that for the rest of the tree with the corresponding bits of wire, pruning and wiring until we get up the tree, and then we'll start working on shaping it properly. That's these first two branches wired. Then I'm now going to move on to these two, but I've moved down to 1.5 mil wire because they're not quite so thick, so I'll just get these two wired. So that's these first 4 branches wired now then, and it's already starting to look much more like a bonsai than it was. Just going to take a quick break, grab a drink, because it's quite hot in this conservatory, but then I'll carry on and keep working on up the tree. Just doing the same thing, pruning and wiring, until we get it looking roughly how we want it. Okay, I'm back from my break. Time to carry on with pruning and wiring, carrying on up the tree. But just a quick reminder, that's where we are. Done the first 4 branches, not looking too bad. So I'll just carry on with what we were doing. So I'm just carrying on working my way up the tree. I'm just going to work on sorting out the foliage around here and getting some of this from around the trunk that I don't need. So I'll keep just slowly chipping away at that and deciding what I can and don't need. I'm into the slow part really, where it gets very difficult to choose what you want to keep and what you want to lose, but just going to keep slowly plugging away at it, getting rid of the stuff that I know I can get rid of and I don't need. Start shaping it a bit more. Got a bit distracted. So yeah, I'm just carrying on working away, chopping out what I know I definitely don't need and just starting to shape the tree a little bit more how we know it's gonna, how we're gonna want it to end up in the end, but it's a difficult slow part, as I say. So I'll just carry on working away at it slowly, looking at it from lots of different angles all the time. In some ways it's the easier side to see what's going on with the trunk. So I think that's pretty much it there for the first wiring and pruning. Doesn't look too bad, I'm quite happy with it. So what I've got to do now is pot it up. We're just going to pot it up into a training pot for now, so it's going to be in quite a big pot, one of these. But start it off in there, and then in a year or two start reducing the pot size. But it's going to look like that. So now I think let's get on and start potting him up. Okay, time to repot it then. So I've started as ever by putting a little bit of mesh in the bottom to stop the soil escaping. My usual lollipop stick across the hole because there's not two holes on this one, and then the wire to hold the tree in. So before we actually put the tree in, we're going to get some soil in the bottom of here. That was the soil from the pot that it came in. We've got some bonsai mix down here somewhere. I thought I had an open one, but perhaps not. So we'll get bonsai mix open. Got some macadamia here to get some drainage in there, so mix a bit of that in. Basically, we're just going to start to create a nicely drained mix of soil. So there's a nice lot of drainage in there for the tree. Don't want those big bits of rubbish. A bit more soil. Let's have a look at where that's sitting in the pot now. So it's getting close to the level we want it. We want it to be, put that back up here now. We want the tree to be sitting slightly clear of the pot. So we'll just get some more soil in there for a bit more. Let's open up this bonsai mix. Some of that in there. Losing everything. A bit more macadamia. Give that a good mix up. I know this soil mix could be a lot more gravelly, but as I say, this is just a training pot to start the process of getting it in bonsai. So that's looking about the right height now. So I'm just gonna tease out the bottom of these roots a little bit more just to encourage them to grow. I'm not gonna really chop them off much because it's going into a bigger pot, so we want the roots to kind of expand out into the pot nicely. So we don't really need to cut off too many of the roots, and you can see here there's going to be some nice nabari that are going to develop over time there. So now just working on positioning the tree and we want it in the pot. I'm trying to use this as about the front so that you guys can see. Okay, once we're happy with the position and the height of the tree, now we're going to take our wires and we're going to wire the tree into the pot. As tightly as we can get it. So we want to get this nice and tight now, so that the tree doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, just wiring it in as tight as I can get it. And that'll just hold the tree in the pot nicely, stop it from falling out if it ever blows over or anything like that. But basically it just secures the tree in there and stops it from going anywhere. So I've done that right. That's very loose. Yeah, gonna have to redo that. Take that off, that didn't work. Try again. Alright, attempt 2 at wiring the tree into the pot has gone much better. So just get him wired in. There we go, that's much better. That's not going anywhere now. The pot's actually a bit heavy, I wouldn't want to lift it on the weight of the tree in that pot. But it's back to the front then. Sort out some of these roots. Probably chop off a few of those. Alright. Now we just carry on filling and packing in earth around that. Probably wasn't the best way. All over a branch. Knock those off a bit. And then we want to make sure that this is all really firmly pressed down so that there's absolutely no air gaps whatsoever in and around the tree. So I'll just carry on potting this up and get back to you once I've done that. There we go then, I'd say that's about it. I'm just going to add some gravel around the bottom now to keep the weeds down and help protect it. Just make it a bit easier on the soil, retain some moisture. And just give that a nice good water in. I think that's one Picea bonsai, informal upright, almost ready to send on to the building reefer in a couple of weeks, once I've made sure it's growing nice and strong and I've worked out how I'm going to post something this big and heavy to him. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed watching how I made this tree. I enjoyed making the video for you and hope the building reefer likes his tree. I'm quite jealous, quite like it for myself. Thanks for watching everyone, I'll see you in the next one. So there is the finished tree then.